Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care Vigor, a podcast where we explore what it's like getting older, the peaks, the valleys, and everything in between. In this season of Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care Vigor, we're covering topics related to vibrant aging. I'm your host, Cheryl Praska. Let's grow old together. Today's episode is all about movement, specifically how to move with confidence, reduce your risk of falling, and bring joy back into your body. Our guest is Judith Sachs, founder of Anyone Can Move, a movement educator and advocate who believes that everybody at every age was made to move. Judith joins us to share practical tools for improving balance, recognizing signs of instability, and recovering from falls in a safer way. She'll also introduce us to a variety of inclusive classes she leads designed for older adults and those living with chronic conditions. Whether you're feeling steady on your feet or looking for new ways to regain confidence, this conversation is for you. Judith, welcome, and thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm fine, Cheryl. Thank you so much for inviting me. And how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. So, Judith, can you share a bit about your background and how Anyone Can Move came to be?
Certainly, yes. So I guess I'll start back like 100 years ago, or maybe 75. I was a dancer and actor in New York, and I felt as I was auditioning and going to shows, etc., that this was not the way I wanted to spend my life. It was very difficult and chopped up and everything, even though I really loved movement more than anything else. But my father and grandfather were physicians, and what interested me was the whole physical, medical, psychological, etc. pieces of movement. I wrote several books with different doctors for lay audiences on a variety of different healthcare topics. And then when our daughter had to go to college, I thought, well, I've got all this medical knowledge. I know something about the internet and I can write. So I got a job with a pharmaceutical marketing company. That was kind of like, ask your doctor why X is right for you. And when I was 65, we were doing a project for General Electric. It was a new test to determine the difference between Parkinson's disease and essential tremor, a benign disease and life-threatening disease. And it was called the DAT scan, and it's now used typically to diagnose and distinguish these two. And they asked me to find a picture for the website. And in looking around, I found 50 people with Parkinson's doing the Jets and the Sharks from West Side Story. And I thought, oh my goodness, like here was the conjunction of dance and medicine. So when I called the Mark Morris Dance Group, whose picture it was, to get the credential, I was told, well, we're training teachers in Philadelphia this weekend. Do you want to come? And my life changed because here I was able to put all these things in the stew that I had been making for all these years. I became a certified dance for PD teacher in 2017, and then a Matter of Balance teacher. This is a national program, a certified national balance teacher the next year. And in working with couples who had movement disorders, I realized in many ways, it's not so specific to Parkinson's or muscular dystrophy or stroke or cardiac disease. Most people, as they age, have movement problems. So I've developed several different programs, one for couples. So couples who are living with a movement disorder, one has it, one does not. And I teach them movement techniques together. So the activities of daily living, how to get out of a chair, a bed, the shower when you're slippery and wet. And I also teach for Penn Medicine. I teach a balance and gait course on Zoom. And I also teach for FITCI, Friends in the City. I've taught balance classes for them, dance classes. And my newest class is called Bounce Back, Mastering the Art of Falling and Recovery, because everybody with my color hair who lives in Philadelphia is falling down. So I want to make sure they know how to fall and that they can recover from falls. My company is called Anyone Can Move, and it's kind of the umbrella over all of these programs I just described to you.
It really strikes me at just how perfect that timing was for you to be working on that project, see the images of individuals with Parkinson's dancing, do a little research, make a phone call, and there you happen to be in Philadelphia to go to learn more about it. It just really strikes me. It was meant to be, perhaps.
Yes.
So let's get into falling and the fear of falling. Who is most at risk of falling and why?
I think we're all most at risk of falling, especially in this city where we have cobblestones, we have loose gravel, we have areas of construction where they don't repair the streets. We have cut-ins so that cabs can come in to leave you at the hotel, where people don't watch where they're stepping. So to answer your question, I say everybody, and it's really interesting, if you look back in the literature, in the 1950s, a really interesting experiment called the Visual Cliff Experiment took babies who had just learned how to crawl, and they built them this box, and the box had a checkerboard square, black and white, on the floor. And then about 4 feet up, the box was divided. It had the checkerboard up on top. And then halfway through, it was clear plexiglass. So they had mommy standing first at the checkerboard area and saying, "Come on, sweetie, come over here, crawl to me." And all the babies went. And then mom went around to the other side and asked the baby to crawl. And as soon as they reached that place where they could look down and it was a sheer drop of 4 feet, there was fear. They didn't know anything. They were babies. They were like 8 months old. And what's really interesting is of the 67 children in this study, only 3 crazy nuts went across the plexiglass to their mother. So it starts so young. And as we get into our 60s, 70s, 80s, undoubtedly we have taken some kind of fall, maybe a very serious fall. If you have fallen, your risk of falling again, if we say people over 65 fall once a year, their risk increases by 4. So once you have fallen, the likelihood you will fall again, and sometimes in the same place, the same corner, you came around it and some kid on a scooter was zipping past, it may be likely that you would fall again. So that's why it's really, really important to have some actual skills and techniques. First of all, to balance on your own 2 feet. And second of all, to know how to get to ground and then how to get up again.
And what's coming up for me with you saying that sometimes specifically people will fall in the same place, it makes me think of that fear of falling is sometimes getting in the way of people moving as they naturally would. And I'm curious, what are some strategies that can help people overcome their fear of falling?
Well, you know, it's so interesting because so if you have a fear of snakes,
I do.
All right, you can stay away from most areas that would have snakes. Maybe when you go on vacation, a little iffy. You can't really protect yourself from you could fall, you know, I could fall just walking across this room. You could fall the next time you took a couple of steps across Columbus Boulevard, because you get those 25 seconds, they're counting down, you start rushing, maybe you trip over yourself. So there are a variety of different things that make you more likely to fall. So what can we do to work on this? The first thing to do is to really work on the foot and ankle and how they go together. The next thing to do is to work on weight shifts, how you are not double weighted. In other words, having weight on both legs and feet at the same time. But as we try to move through the world, taking a step, lightening the back foot, taking a step, lightening the back foot, taking a step. And I'll show you this a little bit later on when I get up. The thing about your fear of falling, what I think is really interesting, I just finished a 4-week course of Bounce Back with members of FITCI. One woman in class who was really doing well, she was getting on the floor, getting up. On Wednesday, she said to me, I fell this week. And I said, oh, really? She said, yes. And I didn't do a few of the things that you taught, but here's what was better. I wasn't terrified. As I was going down, I thought, oh, well, I'm falling. And then when I got on the ground and people were coming to help me, because this is one thing we really, really have to work on, is she said, I took charge of them getting me up and getting me to the CVS to have an ice pack and a Band-Aid. So learning the whole progression of take a breath. Yes, you're on the ground, but you survived. The ground is a great big flat place. Nothing's going to happen to you while you're down there, at least. And having the opportunity to do a body scan to first think, did I hit my head? Did I hit my shoulders? Is my elbow able to move? Can I roll from side to side? Am I able to sit up? And then to do the body scan again in each position before you let anybody start yanking and pulling you to your feet.
And that, to me, sounds like a really great way to be able to mindfully pull yourself together and to be able to focus on yourself so that you can then be able to articulate, this is what I need. And if people are coming over to help you, they're more than likely going to be happy to help you in the way that you request. So that's really great advice and something that I'm going to take into consideration myself.
I think we also have to build into this the fact that you're in shock. Your heart is beating faster, your respiration is faster. You have to give yourself the opportunity to kind of get back to a nice, normal neurological cardiac state before you can move on to the next step. And that's kind of why I'm always talking about this 25 seconds to cross Columbus Boulevard or many of the large streets in town. Especially if you are an elder, if you use an assistive device like a walker or a cane, you need some more time. And again, in Philadelphia, a red light is sometimes just a suggestion to those drivers. But I do tell people, if you are having trouble making it for the 25 seconds, really slow down and just put your hand up to traffic. They're going to have to wait for you. Again, you have to kind of get over that fear of, ooh, they're going to blow their horns at me. So what?
And that makes me think a lot about moving through life and the city as a solo person. And we talk a lot about solo agers in the podcast and how necessary it is to be your own advocate. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what you're saying is just really bringing up some of my other conversations with making sure you can be your own advocate. And maybe it is going to take you longer. That's fine. But having to be able to do it by yourself definitely takes some more thought, perhaps, as you're crossing that street or moving about your life. So with being able to move and reduce your risk of falling, the word balance comes up a lot for me. And I'd be interested to hear you talk through the stages of imbalance and what we should be aware of and perhaps how we can improve them through practice.
Definitely. So one of the things I kind of like to do is show people, and you can do this at home. You take a full can of soda or juice or whatever you've got, and the center of the volume of the liquid that's in there is going to be right in the center of the can. And that's true of you. Your center of gravity is from halfway from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. So it's kind of around your belly button area, depending on the size of your torso and your legs. That center of gravity is what we need to keep mindful of as we're stable. The heavier part of our body, especially for women, is below the center of gravity, the lighter part above. So as we feel ourselves tipping or lurching or falling, we want to get back into our limits of support. How far can you go? If you think of standing like on a ski jump, right? And your body's kind of tipped forward. How long can you stay tipped forward until you have to take a step to catch yourself? So a lot of that practice will show you how you can maintain that center of gravity. But the other thing about balance, as I said at the beginning, is this shifting weight. I think that life is all about shifting weight. You cannot be all on your right leg. You cannot be all on your left leg. And even if you have something the matter, if you had a hip replacement or a knee replacement, you want to keep balance by having one heavy leg and one light leg as you move through space. So a good way to practice this is as though you were on board ship and you're just basically taking your body side to side. You can do it sitting in a chair, taking your weight from one hip to another, right? The way I'm doing now. And then once you're standing on your feet, you take it to gravity, where again, you're going side to side and back and forth, and then making a little circle, because the bottom of our foot, right? We've got the toes, we have the heel, and we have the sides of the foot. So I always have people practice with their hands as well as their feet to make sure you're really getting 360 degrees around, taking your balance to each point, and then going in the opposite direction to make sure you can do it both ways. So that's a really great and very simple thing, and you can definitely start doing it in a chair and then work your way to standing.
I'm thinking about having a joint replacement, having a knee replacement, having a hip replacement, and that I would imagine would maybe change the way that you're moving, especially if you're getting one hip replaced and the other one is still doing okay, the way that you might move differently. And that may have an impact. So just getting what's coming up for me with what you're saying is individuals in that position may have to get reacquainted with their center of gravity and the way that they're moving. So doing those exercises sounds like it would be beneficial in that instance too.
I have two hip replacements. One was 2007 and the other 2014. And because I'm a movement professional, I mean, I had the best physical therapist in the entire world. He was like my Russian ballet master. And he said, they'll tell you what you get back in 3 months, that's it. But it's not true. You keep working at it, and it just gets better. And I feel I have better balance and control now, probably because of what he taught me. But what's interesting, I'm a small woman. In 2007, when they replaced the hip, they were using the same ball and socket thing that they would use on a larger man. In 2014, it was my size. So my two hip replacements are different sizes. My rotation on both sides is different. So you have to play with it. As I always say to my classes, you have to improvise with your body parts because they're not the same body parts that you were born with, and they have all changed over time. So you're absolutely right about replacing something is going to change the center of gravity and your awareness of where you place weight. But the more you practice it and the more you do with it and give yourself the opportunity to challenge yourself on your feet, seated, on the floor, if you can get to the floor, that's the best. And you will learn so much. If you watch those babies who were crawling, you watch them start to get up, right? And then they plop down. Of course, they're very close to the floor and they're wearing a diaper, unlike most of us. So it's harder when you're further from the floor and you're looking down there. It's scarier. But again, if you take things in little increments, I chunk everything up. I do segment A with the class, and that's all for 1 week. And the next week, we repeat segment A and we add segment B, and that's all for the week. And then, of course, I expect people to do some homework.
You touched on your classes when we first started talking. Can you expand on the types of classes that you offer at Anyone Can Move?
Yes, certainly. So the first and most basic class is Dance for Parkinson's. And I follow the format of the Mark Morris Dance Group and Dance for PD. They have been in existence for 20 years this year, and they are all over the world. So if you take one of my classes in Philadelphia, and then you go to India, or you go to Paris, or you go to West Africa, you will basically get the same format class, but the teachers all have a different dance background. So mine is, I studied with Alvin Ailey before he had a company. I'm that old. But you might have a teacher who was a ballet teacher or a teacher who was a hip hop teacher. And everything is adapted so that you can do it in a chair. You can do it standing, holding the back of the chair, and you can do it moving across the floor. And many times we have two teachers, one in a chair, one standing. And that way everybody can participate. And the great thing is the range of music. We use music from the Middle Ages to, if they're making AI music, I don't know.
They are.
Today's music. And of course, we ask people, did you love big band music? Did you like the Marvelettes? Did you like Aretha? What do you like? Because we want to do our choreography and our use of movement to music based on what is going to make people want to move. Mm-hmm. So that's class 1. Class 2 is balance and gait. I began teaching this during COVID when nobody could go out. And Penn Medicine decided it would be wonderful to have what they called Living Well at Home with Parkinson's. Every day, a different type of class, some for cognitive work, some for movement work, sometimes an expert, a doctor or physical therapist talking. And the balance class is good for everybody. Again, we start in a chair, we move to standing and moving. My next class is close contact for couples. And I have just been awarded a Penn Medicine research grant for this project with Dr. George Kanarkat, who is one of the movement disorder specialists at Penn. And we're very excited about doing this work. This program has been in existence for 7 or 8 years now, both online, the people in their own homes, couples moving in their own bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens. And then the last sequence I did was physically in a room at the Mark Morris Dance Group. We had couples in a room working on the same exercises. And then Bounce Back is the last one. I think I've told you a little bit about that. And I'm really excited about this program. Again, I feel it transcends age and movement limitation and has a lot to do with our brain and our feeling of confidence in our body.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on your grant. And it opened my eyes to maybe perhaps benefit of COVID was that people got more used to using FaceTime and Zoom, and the ability to see a couple trying to work together with mobility challenges in their actual physical space must be so beneficial because, think about all the different types of showers or couches or dining room tables or kitchen, anything. Really, the ability to see how that couple moves together in a certain space must be so incredibly helpful compared to that same couple, watching something on YouTube that could be kind of just slightly related to their situation.
And the other part of that, by the way, is that there is a social element to, oh, this couple did that. This one couple had a hallway that went into the bathroom, and they removed the door, and the ADA contractor cantilevered the hallway so they could move a wheelchair from all the way down the hallway into the shower. And it was just, everybody online was like, oh my goodness, how did they do that? But people have shower seats, they have multiple handholds, they have no lip to stand in and out of the shower stall, and they have walk-in bathtubs. It's really, it's wonderful to see what people are doing. And again, there are so many contractors now because us baby boomers are the largest bunch, and we're going to need this as we age in place.
Absolutely. So getting back to the classes, what are some changes that you see in people who participate regularly?
Well, the first thing, and it's really, there's a great deal of research evidence about music and Parkinson's disease. And I feel it can be expanded to people who don't have a movement disorder, but there are a variety of symptoms of Parkinson's that are very telling. There's tremor, there's contracture, there's slowness of movement. It's called bradykinesia. And what music does is allow the brain, which is now depleted of dopamine, which is the thing that kind of keeps us moving without tremor, without bradykinesia. But music re-challenges the brain to start rhythmically and musically allowing the body to move with the music. So whether you're thinking about a waltz or a Scottish jig or a jazz combo, your brain can actually help your body to move in different ways. And I have seen this really throughout all of my classes. Now I've been teaching this for about 15 years. And it's extraordinary, the power of music to help people. And even people who aren't taking class, I would say, you turn on Spotify in your kitchen and start moving a little bit. It can also be good in terms of if you have fallen, if you have had your hip replaced and you are in the midst of exercise, it's really a good idea to stop the exercise and just move to music. Just do what your body wants to do. So I have seen that constantly. And then as I think the more that people are doing some of these strategies, which again, they're not really exercise, they are more kind of brain recodifiers. The idea of getting on the floor, getting off the floor, it may not look graceful or gorgeous, but the fact that you can do it means that in an emergency, you will also be able to do it.
Where can we learn more about you and the programs available at Anyone Can Move?
So my website is https://www.anyonecanmove.com.
And you talked about this, and I'm curious if there's anything you want to specifically say or add to the ways that you make movement accessible to people of all ages and different abilities.
Well, first of all, I want them to be able to teach themselves. So although I may throw out a choreographic pattern, I usually say, if you don't want to clap hands on the third beat and you just want to swoosh your arms on the third beat, do that. Again, it takes a certain bravery not to do monkey see, monkey do what the teacher's doing. But I try to make my classes a lot more improvisational so that I can see what types of movement are natural to each student. It's going to be very different student to student. And then encourage that in them. So there are some people who really love salsa. And I mean, again, cultural differences make a big difference. People who grew up with big band may have a very different movement pattern than people who grew up with mambo or tango or salsa. So very interesting to watch how they adjust and feel much more comfortable. And then say they know a dance that they knew 50 years ago, I ask them to teach other people. How do you do that? So that's definitely one way. And in the balance classes, again, I like to just see where people are and then say, if this is too challenging, we can take it to this step. But if it's too easy for you, take it to this step. So I always have a gradation of each exercise or each movement pattern so that people feel, I didn't think I could do that, but I'm doing it. So let me move on.
It is so apparent how much joy that you have, and especially when it comes to dance and movement and music. Now, there are people who have maybe had negative experiences with exercise or movement. And I'm curious to hear how you take some of the joy that we could tell that you have and help other people discover that in themselves.
I think I'd like to ask those people, well, what did you like to do when you were younger? What did you like to do before you had your hip replaced? And then again, to work from there, because sometimes people just don't remember their, if they were a cheerleader in high school or if they loved to row a boat when they went away on vacation. So maybe that activity could be incorporated into a dance, right? And they wouldn't know they were dancing. I think I've said to you, I never use the word exercise. I think it's horrible. I mean, exercise to me says, do this 10 times and you'll get stronger. And I wouldn't do it. So I really try and stay away from that. I think the negative experience of falling is difficult. In this last group with FITCI, with Friends in the City, I did have one gentleman who, after I demonstrated this, I'd say most of the people in the class were doing what I said. And he said, I'm going to take that home with me and do it on my bed. And I said, what a great idea. I hope everybody else will do that too. Because again, you feel comfortable maybe putting back on your bed where you might not on a gym mat on the floor. And by the way, the bounce back classes are all in person, so I can be watching what's going on in the room. And they are all on great big gym mats that come together, and we can stack them up. We can spread them out. It's very safe.
And the fact that you're so open and willing to listen to how people want to try things and what music they want to listen to, and perhaps where they are in their movement journey, it goes to show the community that you must be building in these classes. So what would you like to say about the role that community and connection plays in your classes?
I think the social element frankly, of being in any class, whether you're playing mahjong or you're falling on the ground, the fact that you have people around you who are about at the same age, the same stage, it's absolutely wonderful. In my first close contact for couples program, which was at Penn Medicine in Cherry Hill, and some of the couples knew each other from support groups. And after my class, they would all go out and have coffee together or have a meal together. I think coming back from COVID, it's been so urgent. I mean, our last health commissioner said that loneliness is probably as serious a detriment to our health as smoking cigarettes. So the fact that, and as you were talking before, there are many of us aging without a partner. So the idea of getting together in a group and doing something together and getting better at it together, giving each other suggestions and congratulations. One woman who came into class and said, I can get on the floor, but I can't get up. So the first thing we all did was practice different ways of getting up. And suddenly she was constantly getting on the floor so she could repeat the getting up. I think the group being together made the difference rather than her trying to do this all by herself.
Well, to all our listeners, Judith is now going to transition to the other space in her studio, and she is going to demonstrate safe ways to fall that reduce the risk of injury and also demonstrate some basic exercises that can improve balance. So Judith is going to get set up, and we'll meet you all right back here momentarily. Would you prefer to age independently in your own home or live in a nursing facility? I know what I'd rather do. Friends Life Care membership offers just that. Plan today for a future lived at home with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience while protecting your savings. Learn about your options at a free seminar or webinar. Register at friendslifecare.org/register or call 215-628-8964. All right, welcome back, everyone. As you can see, Judith has transitioned to the back of her studio. And first things first, can you show us some basic, I had exercises written down, but I know we don't want to use exercises anymore. So can you show us some basic movements that can help improve our balance?
Sure. So we're going to start in a chair. I think I had mentioned this before, that using a chair, holding on to the chair and feeling one side is really heavy, the other is light. There's just a little sliver of opening between my hip and buttock and the chair. And then coming through my center of gravity, now I'm double weighted in the chair, and now I'm on the other side. And then if I want to take it into a circle, I feel the front of my pelvis and the back of my buttocks, my sits bones. And then I'm going to go the other way. So if you do nothing else, this will teach where you are shifting weight, forward, back, side, side, and in a circle. Then the next thing, we walk on the ground with our feet. So use your bare feet. Open your toes the way I'm opening my fingers. And I usually suggest when you're doing any of these activities, you use hands and feet at the same time because you know more about what happens with your hands and they're closer to your eyes. So we're going to take toes off the floor and then heels off the floor. And if you can come all the way up to the tiptoe, great. If not, you just go as far as the balls of the feet. Up and down and up and down, and then one at a time. Because again, when we walk on the earth, we're using one flat foot and one lifted foot, up and down, up and down. And then I suggest opening out the entire foot. So we have a flexed foot, and then we have a pointed foot. So using the ankle in this way, and obviously you're going to do the other side as well, up and down, really important. Then we want to think of the rotation of your legs. So I have duck feet, right? I have pigeon feet, and I have railroad feet, tracking. So what I'm going to do is use my ankle to take a toe out, a heel out, a heel out. I want to go to the sides of the feet. So now my feet and ankles are controlling everything that's going on from my hips down. And then I want to do a few of these, maybe walking out, walking in, walking out. You can see how your ankle is really working. And from here, I want to get off the ground. So when we fall, typically it's because we only have weight on one side of the body. We really want it on both sides. So we're going to practice keeping a knee in the air and then drawing a little circle with the top of the toe and a circle going the other way. Of course, we're going to do this on the other side. Circle, circle. And you can do flex and point, anything to really get the ankle working. And then we're also going to think about how the feet and ankles connect to the rest of the body, the rest of the lower body. So we're going to open out to the side, push back in, put it down, open out, push in and down. And then we want to challenge weight in the chair, the shifting of weight. So I'm going to take one foot out, leave the other on the ground. I'm going to lift up, and then depending on if you need a little bit of support, you're going to have another chair here. I'm going to take that foot off the ground. So I am now completely off balance. Here's my center of gravity. Everything is on this side. And I feel myself out of balance. And now I feel myself in balance. Again, we will do that on the other side. So those are some chair exercises. Oh, well, the other thing we have to do is get out of the chair. So I always have people use momentum. If you need a little bit of an extra push, you can use your hands in between your feet and then uncurl your legs and keep going down. We want to really strengthen the quadricep muscles here. So just stay here a while, do some swimming, do some diving, and then sit down. And then again, coming up, using momentum, staying there. Once you're up, again, depending on your setup, I always suggest to have a support on either side of you, because if you lose balance in one place, there's something else to hold on to. So here's what's really critical. Shift weight. Here's my center of gravity. And then this foot should be able to tap. I know this is a light leg and this is a heavy leg. And then I'm going to switch. I'm going to pour the energy over the center of gravity to the other side. And again, tap, 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 tap. I can do this forward and back. I still have space in between my legs. Any of you who've done Tai Chi know that this is the bow stance, like you're pulling a bow. Sit back on the back leg, but don't lean back, right? We don't want that. You want your hip flexor engaged. And then you come forward and back and shift weight constantly. Do it on the other side, back and forth, etc. If this is too easy for you, take a towel, big bath towel, and throw it down. As you know, the streets of Philadelphia are all uneven. So now I have an uneven surface on one side and a flat surface on another. And I want to try and do, again, the same thing I just did, but challenging myself to feel uneven, to feel maybe I'm losing balance. How do I get it back? If it's really too easy for you, you can always just add a little bit of weight. Right? So, one of the things we need to think about is crossing the center line. So I want to think of, if I need to hold on, I will. I want to think of taking one leg and going across my center of gravity. Now all the weight is over there, especially if I curtsy. I have to take my back heel off the floor and put weight in the front leg. So I'm using that Kleenex box so I don't shuffle. I pick up my feet and I do the other side over the Kleenex box and curtsy. When you get really good at this, you can do it backwards. Curtsy and curtsy. So I think one of the biggest things you can do is get yourself a tennis ball. Our balance is determined by three things. First is proprioception, what we feel as we walk on the earth, what we feel as we touch something to keep us from falling. The next is our visual field. And the third piece is the vestibular nervous system. So that's these crystals in the inner ear that keep us from feeling dizzy and align us in gravity. So this exercise is kind of amazing. It also helps with peripheral vision, so that as you're not really looking, only your eyes are looking at that ball, your range of peripheral vision will get better, so that when that kid on a scooter starts coming toward you, you will be aware of it before it happens. So the exercise goes like this. First, you just watch the thing. Pay attention to it, up, down, sideways, diagonals, all over the place, big circles, head and eyes, everything is looking at the Wilson on this ball. Next, my head is still, but the ball moves. So again, just my eyes pick up Wilson over here, up, down. Diagonals, diagonals. And then the ball is still and my head moves. Side, side, up, down, diagonal, diagonal. The best purchase you can make. Okay. So now that you're completely in balance, it's time to learn how to fall down. Again, if you're in any of my classes, you will have the opportunity to work on big mats, but I don't have any here. So I'm just going to demonstrate a few of these techniques, and I'm just going to use some pillows. Again, if you are thinking of doing this with me at home, please don't just use pillows, because it's not going to be safe. I would like to see you in class. So here's what we're going to do. In class, we take these mats and build them up. So in other words, to get to the floor, first I want something that's not quite that far. And maybe I'm even just going to try spilling myself out of the chair. Just giving myself that momentum, going forward and going forward. And then I know I can lift myself back. And I do that over and over and over. And then basically take everything out. Remember, we're going to have a mat or something soft. And just feel where I have to be to get this knee on the floor. And then to go forward. And then again, either coming back the same way, using the strength of my arms, or coming around. In this case, I would have this up against a wall so that I do not tip it over backwards. If you have fallen and there is a chair around, you're going to have to push the chair to a wall to help you up. I would then put one foot on the ground. I would try and climb a little bit. I'd use momentum. I'd push into the front foot, put down this foot, and either just stand up and stay here while my respiration and heart rate came back to normal, or I would push up and just sit down. And again, same thing. If people are helping you to do that, you have to organize them. You have to say, on a count of 3, I'm going to push into my foot and you can help lift my buttock. 1, 2, now lift, 3, and I'm here. So next stage, for a little drama, is how do I get out of tripping and falling? So I really want to take this into slow-mo, right? I have to be close to the ground. I don't want to be standing up and falling down. I don't want to fall on my face or the back of my head or anything bony. I want to fall on my soft parts, my meat. So as I'm going down, I have to think about shifting sideways. And I don't want to brace myself with my wrists. I want to land on my armpit. Again, nice soft over here. So just speed it up. Again, I'm going to look where I'm going. We don't know. You will have done your ball exercises. Maybe you'll be looking over there when you trip. But immediately seeing how you go down and how you come up. Now I have to really do my body scan. I have to stay here, see that my head is okay, that my hips are okay, that your watch has not said, oh no, my watch always says to me, did you fall? Which I think is really nice.
It's good to have that extra support with the watch.
Exactly. So next idea is wear an Apple Watch, wear a Fitbit, have a life support, life alert button. So I think those are the kind of the very basics of what we do, which we do in very, very slow pieces.
And I'm even thinking about myself. Something that I have done more than once is I've missed a step at my house. I know because I've done it so many times again and again, how many steps it takes for me to get up and for me to get down. If I have just woken up in the morning, if it's late at night, if the lights are off, if it's the middle of the night and I have to come downstairs for some reason, I can miss a step. And that is completely jarring. So just want to reiterate that it can happen to anyone at any time. And at least for me, especially when I'm off my game a little bit, and being able to practice, it will help me quickly think, how can I fall in a way like you were showing where I can fall more out and protect my head on my arm. That really put a lot of things together for me. And I just so appreciate you doing this demonstration for all of us.
Of course. And as you had mentioned, I believe that either a Friends Life Care will send an occupational therapist to do an assessment of your living space. They may have you put lighting on the staircase, motion lights. So, if you have to go from your bedroom to your bathroom, it only lights up when you pass it and then is dark again. And actually with my outdoors, they have me paint a white strip on the one step that a lot of people missed as they were going into the backyard. So all kinds of wonderful things are available online if you look for adaptive equipment. But learning how to get to ground and get up is also essential.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing that forward. Yes, any of our Friends Life Care members who are listening, your wellness or care coordinator will be happy to come to your home and do a home accessibility assessment, which also includes, as Judith was saying, recommendations to help make your home safer. I need to have one of the wellness coordinators come to my house, obviously, to help me with my home accessibility, especially at night. So I'm gonna be reaching out to someone. So Judith, before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the conversation?
I just want to say movement is the best thing. We are destined to move from the moment we are born until the last moment of our life. So we might as well do it well and safely and with a lot of joy and fun.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and the demonstration and giving listeners some ideas to welcome more movement and balance into their lives. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you for listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care Vigor, a unique program focused on aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience. You can find links and show notes from this episode on our website at friendslifecare.org/podcast. Thank you to Judith Sachs for joining us today. You can learn more about Judith and Anyone Can Move by visiting anyonecanmove.com, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. If you like our show, please rate, review, subscribe, and join us next time. To learn more about aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience, subscribe to our blog at friendslifecare.org/blog.